Hello and welcome back to this special episode nicknamed Horsepower on the Hilltop. My name is Donovan, and with me today are two new faces, Jacob and Walter, two important members of the same named club. Go ahead, Walter, and introduce yourself.
Hi, so my name is Walter, and I'm a junior in year, but I'm a senior in status.
You don't have to do that. Yeah, go ahead,
okay, no worries. Wait.
What car do you drive?
I drive a 1982 Porsche 911.
Oh yeah, and what color?
It's red with gold BBS wheels, E50s, magnesiums. You know, I can go on, but
Jacob, go ahead.
All right, my name is Jacob Spencer. I am a super senior, and my fun car fact: I actually broke off an exhaust tip of my truck doing donuts in a field, and a rock just bent the back of it, and it just there was rust, and it just fell off and got roasted to oblivion by my friends for that.
Whoa.
That's how you know you're doing donuts, right?
Yeah, it just kicked up a whole bunch of rocks and just ting 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 ting, and then I was like, wait, why is my exhaust is louder?
Well, my fun
It's
fact.
an exhaust mod.
My fun fact is I've actually rallied my 4 Series on a gravel road. It was really fun.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, it was so fun. So
Yeah.
I have X Drive, so I've got
Oh,
where it's
okay.
able to switch.
Okay.
And so we were doing donuts. It was so much fun. I was in a gravel parking lot. And
Oh,
we
cool.
made this sort of track. And so my friend has an A4. I had my car. My friend had his Mercedes C300. I think we had what's that small Lexus, the CT200 or whatever like that. And
The
we were
hatchback,
rallying it around this little
Nice.
track. So today we will be discussing our dream cars, what our thoughts and opinions are on the industry in the past, present, and the current direction we are going. So to start us off, we have a sort of little revision to the first question, which is our favorite car. So it's what would be if we had one car for the rest of our lives, but it has to be both a daily and a sporty car. So would either of y'all like to start?
Yeah, so this is a tough question. To me, I guess it would still be like a 911, probably a different one from the one I
How
have.
original.
Right. Oh my God, shocking. But yeah, my dream favorite car, I guess, to do everything would be the 911 ST 2.5. I think it was a 1960, don't quote me on the year, but 1965 maybe, the Tour de France model, driven by Gerard Larousse. That was just
The Tour de France model, what is that? Is
It's like a bike, right? Two
Yeah,
bikes, two bikes with a
Exactly.
motor in the middle of it. Two Germans
it's
are
pedal powered 911.
air-cooled sun?
air cooled.
Yeah.
It's water cooled because they just need water.
But yeah, that car is slated as the lightest 911 produced. It was 830 kilos or something.
Okay, we're in
ridiculous.
America now.
Yeah. Okay. That's maybe, let's
Just
see.
do 2.2.
Yeah, 1,700, 1,800 pounds.
Yeah,
basically.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob.
Oh, man. Okay, so I love Grand Tours because
Okay.
there's something about big sedans, and I think that's just me being a filthy American. But I would have to say, I would want something sporty, but also practical, where it's a wagon. And so
Sure.
I'm thinking some sort of BMW 3 Series wagon, or even one of those. I just totally.
E34 M5 wagon.
Yes.
Because when we went to Radwood, there was a whole
One and
bunch.
only.
There was a whole bunch of 80s BMWs. If I remember, there was an M5 there that was
Yeah,
bagged on
that
BBSs.
was fucking.
that was
sick.
gorgeous. I love 5 Series. I worked at a BMW place for quite some time last summer, and seeing okay, I'm gonna pick an answer. BMW 2002 Turbo.
Good one.
There.
Very good one.
It's small, it's light, but it's still practical, and you can have a lot of fun with it.
Okay, but you're not gonna get the Touring 222, right? The hatch one. Have you seen?
No,
that?
I have not seen the hatch.
Oh, damn.
That sounds sexy, actually.
I've seen I'm thinking the
doesn't
4-door,
look as sexy as
and
it sounds, to be honest.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Don't ruin my image of BMW.
right? I'm thinking either I want the flares, but I want it to either be the orange or the white color.
Oh, Yeah, you're right. That kind of looks like a gremlin.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, obstruct your eyes.
I know you can't see, but like even I don't want to see.
Consider yourself blessed.
Okay, so that's interesting because I wanted to do a BMW too, but now that you said that, I'm gonna sound like a cop out.
It's
Oh
fine.
no! I mean, I was also thinking about that Mercedes, like the minivan, like the AMG minivan.
The R500 or 63, R63.
Yeah,
The one that Doug DeMuro did a review.
Exactly,
He's like,
that
he
was
wanted
like-
to do the E-Class instead because
Yeah.
it's like more practical.
So I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
like
but see,
that-
I can't see myself driving a minivan, even if
Yeah.
it has 550 horsepower. Like,
that's just pure straight line
That's
speed. You
exactly,
take a turn,
yeah.
that car's gonna.
like, Daddy, where are we going?
You mean not Bisimoto's Honda Odyssey?
Oh
God.
god, 1,000 horsepower.
Oh my gosh, bro! Goodbye tires.
Is it still front wheel drive?
Yes.
It's
Spin
1,000
City.
over. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Spin City.
That's also the name of my laundromat. So.
Oh, and this is completely unrelated, but you know those washaterias?
Yeah.
Like that, like it just says washateria.
Yeah.
Like I was driving down to UT, and it's like the W and the A were gone, so it said shateria. So you could tell how old I am in maturity wise.
Yeah. Well, that's like any dude until 25 when we have our frontal lobes develop.
Well, I'm 25.
Are you really?
Yeah. I am.
Oh shit! I did not know that.
Walter's actually a boomer.
It's like I miss my Cadillac Eldorado.
Back in my day.
my city driving 2 miles to the gallon.
Oh God.
I saw a yellow one actually on one of those. In a
My car
hotel.
isn't too far off from 2 miles per gallon.
wouldn't
But the
Yeah, it's
Eldorado,
a
that was a 2-door, like it was a boat.
21 feet
21 feet
long.
long. And like what? Like
Sorry,
the-
do I need to convert that to meters for you?
Yes, you do.
What is that, like 16,
No, it's
16?
fine.
Oh my God.
No, so my favorite car, like almost of all time, would be a 1969 nice Mustang fastback. Like not the bullet one, but just like
Yeah.
a fastback because they're so freaking sick. I think it's like the pinnacle of like American design. Like because now we have like freaking box trucks. We got all this stuff. No shade on your truck.
Hey,
but, like,
dude,
that's just-
I wanted to say it, but I was like, that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant. Don't take it personally. You're too sensitive.
yeah, I don't know. Like I would probably get that or like the Dodge Challenger, like the 71.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like even though those are both movie cars with the Bullet and Dukes of Hazzard, like those are just like
I actually saw
Dukes of Hazzard's a Charger, actually. Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I
the
just
I would get the
Challenger's the one
Challenger.
with the round lights.
yeah,
in
I want the
front,
Challenger.
Yeah.
Charger's pretty good one too though.
Yeah.
But like both of those are really good.
because I went to California with my roommate last year for spring break, and his grandfather does a whole bunch of stuff with restoring classic cars, does a lot of hot rodding, and specializes mainly in lowriders.
Nice.
And so I went to this guy's garage, and he had a production, like a movie, like on the set, signed by all the cast, Dukes of Hazzard,
Nice.
with with the Dixie flag and the orange paint. And interesting, it has a roll cage inside of it. I got to sit inside. I mean, those seats are just metal with like a thoughts and prayers amount of fabric. But I mean, like, it was just so cool to see a production car, and it was wrecked.
Yeah.
I mean, like, 'cause this car had been through hell, but it was just so cool to see it and like touch it, and I was just like having a field day. I love those things.
They're really sick. Yeah, I think the reason why just because like you can still barely fit people in the back. It's got somewhat of a trunk, and then like
It's
not too
got a
overpowered.
huge trunk, to be honest.
You
Yeah.
can
All
fit
of
like
those
2 more
Ameri-
people in the trunk.
Yeah, exactly.
How would
I
you
think
know?
that's why the. Oops.
They like, well, my roommate got very annoying, and his little brother was there, and so I
Now
was
they're
just
gone.
like,
Oh, so,
yeah.
so you're saying like 1.5 people because it's like
Well, no, his brother's 17, but I mean, he's
Oh.
like a twig, so I mean, yeah, it's 1.7.
so you're like the reason why they have the little pull things.
Now, by U.S. law, manufacturing states that you have to do this.
Not if you have that little divider.
Oh yeah, like the Bugatti Chiron. I wanted to say like my favorite car. Oh, Ferrari F40, of course. Like,
Man, if it was a Ferrari though, F430, F430 Scuderia. Ooh,
yes.
Oh,
I don't know
wait.
if I do Scuderia because
Actually, I want to change my answer. I want it to be.
1
I wanted
hour
to
just
be-
on the first question.
Yeah, I want it to be the 959 now. Just,
Oh.
Oh, well, I
dude,
mean, what
that-
for there?
Right.
The comfort or the sport? The comfort or the sport?
Comfort.
Comfort.
So Walter drives a Porsche, and his favorite or his one car he would drive would be a Porsche. Jacob said, "What would you say you wanted yours to be again? The station wagon."
Yeah.
The BMW.
Well, the
BMW 2002
turbo,
or some
actually,
sort of
yeah.
like M3 wagon
Yeah.
or M5 wagon.
Dude, that would be honestly so sick. I want those so bad.
Yes.
That leads us into our next question. Why did you get into cars? You know, like for me, it was freaking Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 on the Xbox.
Hell yeah.
That's my favorite BMW, the E46 M3, dude. I cannot.
Yeah,
get
with
enough of that.
those graphics as well, right?
Dude.
So, is that the one that somebody made a real life version of?
Yeah.
There's
Some
3
Russian
people on it.
dude
Yeah,
was
there's
on
like
there.
three
Yeah.
people. And they all look so sick. And they were all at SEMA at one point, and they were like,
What?
it's like that Spider-Man meme, hey.
That would be so cool to see, though.
Yeah, I think he spent, so he bought the car for like $11,000 and then spent like the same amount, if not more, on the mods to get it. Because like that wing, you have to get the massive
The
flares.
GTR.
Yeah.
bodywork.
And then I think he even bought the racing engine, like the V8.
V8.
Oh, so he did everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
Because
like,
it was a track car that was because it wasn't the first car that you got. It was like your.
well, it was the first car you drove, but it was also the last car you got because of the blacklist.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was a race car, but somebody put plates on it, and yeah. Actually, like my first couple weeks at working at CMB, they had an M3 race car there. That gentleman was a dentist and got stupid money, so he'd race at Coda a lot.
Oh shoot.
And we had just put in new shocks and springs, and my boss was like, "Okay, I have to go test drive this." And I like looked at him, and he goes, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yes." And so we got to drive it down the road, and this is not street legal. This is a race car,
Oh shoot.
like a factory built race car. And so we're going down, and it's got it's like the straight cut gears. Everything's loud. There's no sound deadening whatsoever. I mean, it was the most crazy experience driving this thing down a 2-lane suburb road.
Oh god.
Yeah, because this place was right next to my house. It was like right in between neighborhoods, and we're heading back. A state trooper is going the opposite way, and my boss starts saying every cuss word under the sun because we can get arrested for this, and but the logic was the car had so many graphics on it that the guy just thought that it was probably just some kid, it had a big wing too.
Some racer.
Yeah, some ricer. He's like, he doesn't even know. It's probably like one of those 328 or something like that. That's I don't know, the 325.
318 Ti.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. With just a big wing. But I mean, that was from that moment, I was like, yes, I want a race car.
When was that?
That was a couple of years ago, but that's not where I got it. That's not how I got into cars, but that was me cutting you off right there. My apologies.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, it was the same tangent, so you're good.
But is that car still there, by the way? Since you said it was to drive at Coda, right? So it's in Austin.
The gentleman lives out in Houston, and he has. I don't know what this how much resources this guy has, but I mean, from my understanding, they put it on a trailer. He trailered it over.
Okay.
They dropped it.
All the way.
Yeah, I mean, if you drove it over, props to you, man.
Right, exactly.
I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was a sequential. I think it was just a manual.
Ooh, that's old school.
Yeah, which was
sure.
I mean, great. It was about I think it was a 2012 or 2014, that range of M3.
Wait. Wasn't it an E46? It's an E92?
Yeah, it was a newer model of
M3.
M3.
Okay, I see.
I have some pictures, but I'd have to sift through 10,000
It's fine,
photos.
don't worry about it. No, because I went to More Speed recently, just a few months ago, basically, and they had an E46 M3 GTR over there, which so it's literally the Need for Speed Most Wanted M3, and I was like, dang, wait, does it have the V8 in it? And they popped the hood, and I was in inline 6, but it was still pretty cool.
So it was the homologated one, the one that's for the street.
No. It was an actual race car. It's just that they had two flavors of the race car. They had a V8 and an inline 6 for different race regulations. I think.
Class specs.
Yeah,
or anything like that?
exactly.
Okay, I see. That's pretty sick. Okay, so what about you, Walter? What got you into cars?
It's a long story. Just sort of from a young age, my dad had this minivan.
The minivan.
Yeah, that you guys won't know of it. It's a Renault Espace.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
you do know it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah, you probably know it from Gran Turismo where they have Espace F1, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
the
it is.
F1.
Yeah, but it's basically that car except the street version.
So nothing like that car.
Exactly. Well, it was modified to hell. It had, a MR2 AW11 supercharger on it, so the root style supercharger, and it had a FB RX7 turbochargers intercooler to cool down the charge temps, and that car was quick. It was like I just remember being like a little child strapped into the rear seat and just like my body flaying everywhere as we drove like down like the streets of Singapore, really quickly, beating Celica GT4s and Subaru WRXs in a minivan.
What color was yours?
It was green, and it was the Espa G2. So that's like the latest one. It's like the boxiest car. So it's a sleeper car. Like no one would think of it as.
Oh yeah, is this one right?
Yeah, that's definitely an Espa.
It was a C7 Corvette.
Yeah.
Mercedes. That's the interior of it.
Mercedes. I see a BMW Rounder.
Rookie mistake.
Goodbye. You're done. Where's your mic?
Yeah, hey, it's cut off.
So Jacob, what got you into cars then?
Oh man, it's been like, okay, so my parents had this joke saying that like my first words were cool cars, because like basically like ever since like I could like walk and talk, like I just remember just being like captivated by any sort of car with like just like cool like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, like that kind. I mean, of course, like the stereotypical stuff you get into when you're younger, and like as I grew,
you gained some culture and you learned F-150s are cool.
Exactly, thank you. The pinnacle of automotive engineering. Like they like my grandfather, he used to tell me stories about like when he worked in a pit crew for a Top Fuel dragster, and they also used to race go-karts back in the day. Back in the days, as in like the 50s and 60s. He was born in 49, if I remember correctly, and so that's like it was always just kind of like it was always kind of there. And throughout the years, neighbors had really really cool cars, motorcycles, but I just like. It's kind of hard to pin down the exact moment because it's always just kind of been there for me. But I vividly remember going to a Ferrari festival, and it was my first real time going to an actual like one car show, and going in and like one of the owners of an F430 actually. I think it was this I'm gonna pronounce Scuderia. Thank you. And I got to sit in it, and the guy was like, "Do you want to go for a ride?" So I got to sit on my grandmother's lap while this guy was he was going pretty hard, let's put it that way, on I-10. I mean, like, it was just crazy. I mean, that's where, like, I guess I got, like, I was hooked. And so then, like, it just kind of kept going and getting more. As, like, I've kind of, like, it started that stereotypical stuff. I was one of those kids that liked the slanty wheels, like the stance cars and stuff in high school.
It's cool to look at, but like...
Yeah, but then I'm like, driving that? No.
Nah.
Negative, like, 15 camber. It looks cool on S-Tuner, but, like, everything else, no way.
Like those people that make it look like the DeLorean and Back to the Future.
Exactly, yeah. Actually, at CODA, there was a car meet at the Coffee and Cars where this guy showed up in a purple Miata that had -12 in the rear and -9 in the front. And I was talking to him for like 15 minutes about like what he did to his car, and he was like showing me where like he re-welded his A-arms and stuff like that. And I was like, "Why, Jesus?" And he's like, "This is not my daily driver." And I'm like, "Okay, cool."
I think I need to make a car with positive camber to be the antithesis to all these stuff. Positive 20.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. R.I.P. to your like just. RIP to everything.
RIP everything, yeah, exactly.
Very, because I actually got the privilege of riding along in a Dodge Demon when those came out, and this guy had just broken the 500-mile thing where like the engine would fully unlock its full power. So he goes
the break-in period.
Yeah, and so he
makes sense for that car. I mean,
funny thing though, to talk mess about Dodge, that car only had like 510 miles on it, and it was leaking oil. But that's what you get when you buy a Fiat. Anyway, like, and that dude,
Italian engineer.
Yes, dude, the acceleration on that thing threw me into the back of the seat, and I was just
it hurts.
And he was a high roller. He optioned for the passenger seat.
Oh wow!
So
the $1.
The $1. This man was not messing around. Like, oh my God, that was one of the craziest things. Just like the tire, like you could smell the smoke, and just like that supercharger whine, just like threw me into the back of the seat, and I was like, I need it.
Yeah.
Are you sure it was smoke, not oil burning?
Probably oil burning, knowing Dodge. Because, like, those motors are really finicky. I know, like, I got a buddy of mine that works on them, and, like, he was saying that, like, after, like, 150 XX amount of miles, like, I mean, the lifters just say they have a divorce with the engine, and it's just, like, constantly having to fix those. The 6.2s and 6.4s.
FYI, I talk shit about burning oil, but my car burns oil.
Yeah. Well, it's an 80s S box.
Yeah.
So
Same with like the E30 M3, all those like
Oh, yeah.
they're crazy with oil. They're like name a better duo, and it's just a driveway.
Oh yeah. Like I never like really understood, like that's why like I guess like working at the auto shop for the summer, just kind of like seeing these old cars come in and just really appreciating how far we've developed, because like these cars, like I was like, this looks relatively simple. And then an M5 would show up, and I'd be like, this is space age technology. Like the intercoolers are like right on top of the engine, and like the small, like those really weird box intercoolers, and like, oh dude, horror stories with that. The guy like said the turbos were dying. He was like, I need you to floor it, and I was like, no, I don't want to floor it. Like it was I was so afraid. And doing a turbo replacement on that, I just held the flashlight.
Yeah, and the turbos are in between the V, right, for that.
If I remember correctly,
I think that's only the V10.6 series. I don't know if they did that for the 5. Are you talking about which series?
this one, oh man, I don't know the model differences between the.
If it's a turbocharged M5, it should be the F10
V10
onwards. No, it'd be V8. V10 was naturally aspirated, so.
Yes. Oh, you were talking about the BMW.
It's basically like it's just one of those instances where like the owner like just clearly like has like an inflated sense of like self-importance and just kind of like would not listen to me, like just like, hey, like you shouldn't do this. Like your cars, you have warning lights in your engine. Don't floor the engine. Like don't try to gas this thing. And and then we'd clear the codes, do some minor troubleshooting with it, and then a week later he came back in. And then eventually turbo replacements, and that was actually thankfully covered by the insurance on the car. If I don't remember. All I remember is he was picking up a whole bunch of heavy parts from BMW and trying to heckle with them to try to get me a one of those the Batmobile 3.0 CSL.
Oh,
like
dude.
Yeah, like they had a whole bunch of those model cars. I've been trying so hard to get them to like.
Oh, the model car.
Yeah, no, not a real one. I would love a real one, but that ain't happening anytime soon, so to speak.
You never know, dude. Jay Leno could just be like, hey, I'm feeling.
Yeah,
like,
truck
Oprah,
specialist.
You get a car.
Yeah, exactly. Please, I'll even wear the denim. Like,
like what are those little tassels called that like traditional like Texan cowboys?
Oh, the cowboy suits. I know what you're talking about. I don't know what they're called though. I don't like those.
Those are so weird. I don't.
Would you wear denim shoes for Jay Leno?
I'd wear anything for Jay Leno.
Would you wear nothing for Jay Leno?
Jay Leno's Garage after dark. Show me how bad you want this car.
So this is a little bit more abstract. I wanted to say like favorite generation. Maybe we can make it more specific with like favorite, maybe like brand, sort of favorite genre of car, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whatever we want. But like I told you, my favorite car was pretty much the Mustang. So like muscle cars are pretty much my game. But like if you wanted to do like, I don't know, 50s Italian cars, that's pretty sick too. Like
I have my answer.
early 2000s trucks, American trucks.
Yeah, 911s.
Anything Harley Davidson? No. I'd have to, if I'm being honest, I am infatuated with the Art Deco period of cars. I find it's just these crazy. It's like truly like when we were still like these were designed and like they weren't designed by committee. They were just designed to like just to look good. Like these concept cars and the crazy like the inspirations of like the humans had just Art Deco, like kind of like 40s, 50s, and 60s are my favorite generation. Like where it's like you see like the advancements in airplane technology and how that like kind of like those designs were kind of like
trickled down.
Yeah, like they kind of trickled down into like the cars, and you got like these like really cool like complex gauges, and everything looked super futuristic for the time. And then like seeing like as we got into the space age, like you see like and then seeing like rocket like with like the cars with the giant
fins,
fins on the back. I mean, I love those.
Yeah.
Like the old, I think it's like the early Bel Airs had those.
Most Cadillacs had them.
Yeah, Cadillac fins, like just fin cars are always beautiful. I love the Chrysler Ghia concept is one of these like really, really outlandish cars. But if I have to say like, I just like I love concept cars just because I mean the designs are like limitless. And then another one is like the Stratos concept, the HFC.
Stratos Zero.
The Zero concept,
Yeah.
the wedge.
I love that.
the wedge cars, and then the Ferrari. I'm just for like I think it's like it's mod something. So I'm just gonna say the Ferrari Modello.
Modulo.
Yeah, Modulo. It's owned by Glickenhaus. Like
and it burned up recently.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, a Ferrari on fire? Never.
Surprising.
Yeah. It's just I love things that like he's like you don't normally expect it, but there's something about just like I love curves, and like that's one of the things that like future questions we
curves, and you like wedge cars.
Yeah, well, like wedge cars, it's different. It's like that one's just like I was just so blown away seeing that car in person. I was so blown away at just like I'd never seen anything like that because I'd never even heard of it before. But I'd have to say like Art Deco and 50s are like my real two like favorites.
Speaking of, have you seen the Chrysler jet car that Jay Leno reviewed? That car, like space age Art Deco.
It looks like
jet engine.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It looks like a precursor to like the CTS cars from Cadillac.
Yeah.
Because like I always just get a sense of Cadillac from that. But that's my answer.
All right, Walter.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I guess I'm really predictable. It would be a Porsche. Probably not a 911 if you're going to ask me. Yeah, of course, the 911s is something I want, but to make things more interesting, I would say something like the race era of Porsche from the 60s through the 70s, where you have like the 904, the 908, so I guess 904, 906, 908, 917s, all of those just like the pinnacle of early Porsche, well, not so early, but pretty early Porsche Motorsports, flat 12 engines, or just lightweight like the 904. That was crazy. 904-8. They put the flat 8 from the 908 in it, and it looks so sexy.
Do you remember what at the time Porsche, like there was a big thing recently with Porsche like recreating its like lightest car ever, but in the modern era? Man, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know the 904. I mean, like, absolutely beautiful car.
Right.
Because I mean, like, but like that was happening at the same time. The 356.
Yeah,
correct.
Exactly.
That was the road
60s.
car.
Yeah, exactly. That was before the 911. Even I think it was, or maybe around the same era, like 1964. I think was when the 904 debuted, and I guess the 911 was around then. So
okay.
Yeah. But they weren't racing the 911s when they first debuted it. So the 904 was that race car for them initially. And it was like the typical stories of David versus Goliath. It was like lightweight, low horsepower, but it beat out all those big American cars with
because I mean, those cars can't take a turn.
Exactly.
Like, that's
actually, the GT40 beat Ferrari.
Yeah, then the C8's going to blow it out of the water. Like the ZL, I don't know. I honestly, like my prediction, the C8's going to be faster than the, not the Stingray, but like the eventual versions are going to be faster than the Ford GT around some tracks.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That'd be interesting, actually.
I think definitely it would give like Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini a run for its money, especially at the price range, $60,000.
That's insane.
For a Stingray, I mean, like that's not bad. I mean, granted, you're probably out the door at
2.8 seconds or something. Like, what the fuck?
Because it has now I don't. They don't have a manual option for this right now.
No, they said they should put out one.
Like it's kind of like the ZL1 with like the C7, which was like you can get the manual, but like you'll be slower. Yeah. Because humans just can't shift that fast.
But actually, if you watch Jay Leno review it when it first came out, the interior actually doesn't have an area for them to put the stick, even if they wanted to.
On the Stingray.
On the C8, yeah, exactly. So they'll have to redesign the interior.
That's going to cost so much money, dude.
I don't know.
I don't think they'll do it.
Maybe eventually in like a couple of years they might.
If they say it's actually like enough people wanting it.
It'd have to be some track special or something, or like some high echelon with Corvette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a pretty good segue into this. Thoughts on the past. So we have a lot of old school style, like that's pretty much all of our favorite generations prior. One example I like to think about, like design aspects. So looking at like the old BMWs versus new ones. The new ones are cool because they're like a little bit more abstract. You've got like hard body lines, but we really like the old the shark fins, all that kind of style.
Nose,
shark nose, all that kind of stuff. And it's really cool to see how we've progressed. But like looking back, what is like some things that you think we should try to bring back? You know, like would you really want fins on your car now?
Miura headlights. I love them.
Oh yeah, with the eyelashes.
Yeah, and you know the way they just tilt up, so they're not like pop-ups.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
won't like hurt people
They're just like,
so
alright.
badly.
I think pop-up headlights should be back. And
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
definitely.
but like if you're a pedestrian, watch where you're walking. Like don't walk.
Stop
in front-
looking at your phone.
Yeah, it's all these like cities, they just think it's okay to just walk across the street. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like that though. When I'm walking to class, I'm like, hit me, please, put me out of my misery. But that being said, I love abstract algebra.
quick plug.
Oh man, who wants to? Do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Uh,
Just Atlas.
Like I guess like thoughts on the past. I think that some of the stuff I would like to see, I'd say that the cars today are just too busy. Like
That's
there's
a
too
very
much
good
like
way to say it.
we've got SUVs that have like, and this like I got this from like Doug DeMuro, but it was like more of like so many cuts, lines, creases, wedges, folds, and I'm like yes, like they look good. I'm honestly like I don't mind it, but I'm just like it's kind of like it's just overkill because I'm like, dude, this is a RAV4.
Yeah, that's a very good example.
Like this, like it's like guys, like or like the Kia Telluride or the Kia or some of those cars, like it's just like I'm like what? Like I don't understand. Like there's no, I don't want to say continuity, but there's really not. But like I mean, other than like the grills are getting bigger, the headlights are getting smaller, everything has 1,000,000,001 different cuts on it, and I'm just like, for what? Like I don't. It just really like I mean. Yeah, it's like it's acceptable, but I just don't think. I think I have a policy like less is more kind of thing, and that's why like some of those older BMWs, it's just very classic car. It looks good. It's a timeless design, but these cars, I feel as though in 10, 15 years, like we'll look back on these and be like, what the hell was this? Excuse me. Like it's kind of like I look at like the way we look at a Countach. Like now is the same way that we're gonna look at like these like cars nowadays of like, oh, that was really the 2000s, like. But, like, who knows? Like, that's me on my soapbox.
And on that note, well, I say we bring back the impact bumpers of the 80s.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Why?
No, but
Accordions.
yeah. No, but I think you bring up a good point about the proportions and everything, the size of the grills, etc. But I think a lot of that, again, just as with modern safety standards, pedestrian safety, we're just like, oh, we want something that's soft when the pedestrian lands on the hood of your car.
Soft and like in quotes. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Soft.
We want it so that they're like jumping on a mattress and not getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
But really, yeah, I think the old design features when you weren't so constrained with having like this is definitely an opinion off of Jay Leno where he's like, oh yeah, you know, the headlights have to be a certain height.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was literally just thinking headlights. My first example was headlights.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like the headlights have to be a certain height, the hood line has to be a certain like height as well, and distance away from the windshield, etc., distance away of the occupants from the roof, etc., which is why the Ford GT had to be designed with a fixed seat, actually. So you move like the LaFerrari, the wheel and the pedals towards
the steering
you.
wheel, the pedals come towards you.
Because they had to like project the arc of a 6 foot something occupant and see if he would intersect with the roof if he didn't have his seatbelt on or something like that. And if you were to make the seat movable, then they would have to change the roof line and
just mess up all the design.
Exactly. So they fixed the seat so they didn't have to do that. But a lot of these design quirks that you see nowadays, I think, can be attributed to safety standards, which, I mean, I get that it's good that people don't want to die, but
and like
people are stupid enough to try to kill themselves.
Yeah, like I mean, as, like, BMW is a prime example because like we always like to joke like in 2020 the BMW grill will be the whole car, like but like the engines are getting bigger, like you need to cool more. Like I mean, trucks are a prime example of that too. The grill size is exponentially risen in trucks where it's just like.
Can I talk about trucks for a minute? Like.
Be very careful.
I just wonder why they need the hood to be as high as it is. Like, I don't think it's a necessary design feature. Like, I think they want it to look bulky and macho.
Yeah, what's with the chrome, dude?
Well, okay, so actually, so when you look at a truck, this is actually like something that, no, it's
psychological.
no, it is. Okay, so
it's
like
supposed to intimidate the driver in front of you.
no, it's because like you see that giant grill and it's like that, you know, that no, seriously, and it's like no, because like the Dodge 1500 in the 24 valve Dodge diesel, I think like in the early 90s or early 2000s, had that big grill. That was where we saw the first instance, because even the headlights were lower than the top of the grill. But I think to make it more proportional, they started, you know, getting the grill. And because I mean, on my truck, the grill and the headlights are like function as like one solid line.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, like it's.
But I guess that's where I bring up the question, because driving a low car, even with the trucks on low beam, it's like blinding me.
Yeah.
And
But I think that
because
goes
the
more down
hood
to,
is
like,
so high.
ground clearance and everything like that for like what
Well,
they need
who's
to do.
actually taking it off road?
Hey,
It's
dude,
like
that two-wheel drive. I mean, yeah, like when I see like I mean, I love lifted trucks, but when I see like, you know, your bro dozer with, you know, 26 by 30 inch wheels on 52-inch mud tires, like, and I'm like, dude, like I know damn well that you spend more money like probably cleaning the damn truck than you've ever done, like in terms of actually like doing some sort of off-road experience. But I mean, like, it's not my money. And I mean, like, they look cool from like I'm like, yeah, you spent that money. Like, that's really it. Like, I don't know. I mean, and like, cause I mean, there's a whole bunch of like off-road shops out in Houston that like have like crazy designs. And like, I want to do some design work for some 4-link suspensions for those trucks and eventually do some stuff for like mud bogging. But like, those are more of applied thing, like the bogging and like actually off-roading are more applied. And those are like, but then you see like those bro dozers with 4 links and everything. So I'm sorry if I'm going over.
No worries.
No, you're good.
So to those who don't know, Jacob actually wants to work in automotive design eventually.
Yeah.
So I wonder, why haven't you designed any trucks yet?
I actually have. I have quite a few, but they end up looking like a very classic, because it's like, it's that utilitarian thing where it's, you know,
like the new Land Rover Defender, how it still kind of looks like a Defender.
Yeah, and like you also want it to like still look like a Ford, but I mean like with the new F-150s, for example, that more angular thing, it looks a lot more sharp, in my opinion, a lot more like resilient to like actually being like, it looks like it's meant to work. It's not going to have like curves and flow, because that
It's not a truck thing.
it's not supposed to be graceful. It's supposed to just be brute force. It's just like big V8, rear wheel drive, send it. Like, that's all you need. Like,
why not make a McLaren F1 for trucks? Send a seat.
well, the cars are so wide. I mean, like, because I mean, my truck can fit 8 people. Like, we've sat 8 people in my car. Sorry, Nana. Like, and like, you know, like, comfortably in there. And like, you know, I'm a little bit scooched over, but we can still get 4 people in the front and 4 people in the back.
Yeah,
no
but
problem.
I mean, like, center seat truck. Dude, that would be sick.
But you're like, yeah, like, I mean, I know it's like the ideal position, but I just think you're so far away from the doors. Like, sitting in the middle, I can stretch out my arms like that. And like,
You can T-pose on everyone.
yeah,
in the car and-
practically. I mean, God, I hate it when my phone flies off and it goes all the way to the far right's car. I have to park my truck and like reach over. And so,
what are you doing with your phone when you're driving, Jacob?
changing the music.
Oh.
You're not shifting gears, you know, it's like not.
It's an
focusing
automatic.
not focusing on their driving experience.
Yeah.
and
Wait,
everyone's-
you only have 2 pedals?
Yeah, 2 pedals. The superior, the less like.
Yeah, your philosophy is less is more, right?
Exactly. Less is more. It should just only have 1 pedal.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like Tesla's regenerative
Gas
braking.
pedal.
Yeah, gas pedal.
So that's a interesting thing to bring up is Tesla. So moving on to like current, talking about like digital gauge clusters, I think is a pretty interesting topic. So Tesla is almost going entirely off a tablet, right?
Yeah.
And then like, you know,
I think that's stupid, to be honest.
I like it.
What?
Like, yeah.
it's an interesting thing. It's like definitely abstract. And since Tesla is completely new, like to, you know, basically 2012 on, it's like a whole new aspect of the market where people are like all techie people want to do this, like really everything in there.
But I mean, like, there's no tactile feedback. If you want to change the AC, you have
Well,
to
I
take
mean,
your
like
eyes off the road.
Porsche has that on there, like
The new
Panamera.
Taycan?
Yeah, that I think that has it too.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of these manufacturers, they're following the lead of Tesla, controlling everything from that central tablet, and I think it's kind of silly. One video I saw recently, I think it was for a BMW maybe, that was kind of interesting, is they actually have like gesture control. So you can twirl your
like
finger.
old or it's been in like Rolls Royce and like Bentleys for a while,
yeah.
but like it's starting to get into that commercial mode.
That trickle down economics, but it actually works.
Yeah, because the 3 Series, I tested a M340 and that had it, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but I did not like the gauge cluster. I like analog because it's too distracting.
No, exactly. Yeah,
it's interesting though, because I look at a digital cluster as like the possibilities are limitless to like what I want and what I want to see, and so like I like those cars that like when they had the digital gauge cluster, that when you shift it into a higher performance mode, everything changes and it just shows you like what you should, like what you would want to see.
Yeah, like the Mustang and the GT.
Yeah, and like I guess like the configurability, if that's the right word.
Customizability.
Yeah,
whatever,
like where you can just have like whatever you want, and I think that's like because at the beginning like you didn't have a lot of choices, and now we're kind of seeing like we have choices, and like I do think that everyone is following along with Tesla. Like
I don't think everyone, but I think a lot of people are following the lead with that tablet interface.
Because the vertical tablet just doesn't make any sense to me. I think
because like you're looking way off the road, and like if you had the autopilot, sure, fine.
I mean, if you want to change the radio station, you have to take your eyes off the road. If you want to change your AC, you have to take your eyes off the road. Oh, so they fixed the problem with your autopilot. Oh, I'm sure that works, right?
Yeah. Oh God. Like I do agree though. Certain things like temperature control, music, like certain things like that should just be
the
analog.
most essential thing.
It should be
just because like it doesn't.
It's a habit, but like that's also the same thing with like us being slightly in the older generation, like knowing the analog stuff versus us with phones. We were the first generation to have phones, so we're used to it. But like imagine 2 generations from now where they only know digital screens.
Yeah, and I feel
they're
like
going to be used to it.
Eventually, everything's going to get to the point where like
you don't even have to drive.
Yeah, which is sad. Like, I don't know. I like self-driving. I think that's like a really cool aspect of things, but I do think that eventually they're just going to phase out non-autonomous driving. And
you have to start flying.
Well, it's like they're just going to make it like just like the insurance on those things is just going to be too expensive. And then like they're just going to be like, if you want to drive your car, congratulations, you got to make like 8 figures a year to like be able to realistically afford that.
Okay, that's a topic for later.
Yeah,
we'll
sorry,
get there.
But
So, with the analog and digital stuff, my car is the last of the BMWs to have the analog gauges, and it still has the thing at the bottom where it shows like your miles per gallon, whatever.
Yeah, your
but like the one right before, it didn't have like any digital stuff, and I think that looks so much better, just because like it's the driving machine, like that kind of thing. And from a like sports car perspective, that's what I like, but I like how Ford has approached it with like going up to the higher, like the drive modes, you have like less. So it's like the less is more. And I think if they implement that correctly for like certain demographics like us, where we want that, it's cool. But like for people that want to eventually have no driving, they want as much configurability as possible.
Yeah, and like I think one of the things, if I remember correctly, BMW had the digital cluster, but like the analog,
that's what I have.
The circles around it, were like still visible, but when you turn off the car, like it's just a black screen with like 2 like silver arches.
Oh, but there's still like that was the full digital with the digital needles as well. But I think yours.
I have the one right before
needles.
that.
Because BMW interiors are gorgeous. Like those cars are gorgeous. Like it's so comfortable to be around, and like I like the analog too. Like I do because it's just like nothing. Like you just seeing a classic dashboard.
It's also because BMW has like racing pedigree, so like you kind of expect it to have like some sort of that kind of thing.
And I know I sound like a Porsche fanboy when I say this.
So it's us who are just talking about BMW this entire time.
Yeah, but I think Porsche has some of the philosophy right with having, at least for the sports car like sector of cars, that you want your tachometer to still have that analog needle and analog look, but every other gauge around it can be digital and customizable. And I think because when you're driving a sports car, you don't look at the speed. You don't look at anything else.
But the tach, right?
You do hear your engine, but sometimes you do need that visual feedback as well with the tach. And I think that is the most important gauge when you're driving quickly. Because you want to make sure you're in the right gear for a certain corner and stuff like that. You don't want the engine to balk as you exit the corner. And
gear and revolutions per minute. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I think that is sort of my ideal approach, that you have the analog tachometer and everything else, because I'm a sports car fan. So,
yeah.
but I think it really depends on the sector. If you're talking about Rolls Royce and you're not even going to look at the tag because your driver's going to see it.
Yeah, you don't drive a Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
you get driven. In
exactly. So I would say for a Rolls Royce, just fully customizable everything. Like, screw it. You can have the tablet interface, because like, why even let the driver control everything when you can control it yourself, right?
Well, yeah, you can override a lot of that stuff that
Yeah,
they do.
exactly.
Like move the passenger seat.
My favorite thing
entitled
about their
kids.
website is the like, one does not purchase a Rolls Royce. One commissions a Rolls Royce, and I was like, so pompous.
Oh.
I was like, oh, I can feel like I'm like, pardon me, sir, do you have any Grey Poupon?
Yeah,
like,
that's
like
what
I
I
just
was
like
saying.
exactly. I'm like, oh, Grey Poupon intensifies.
Well, so I think what Walter's talking about is, I think, really cool. Like a good exception of that is like the LFA. The gauge can't keep up with it, so it has to have the digital, and I think that's really cool. But like the reason why I like analog, because it's like nostalgic, but it's also like just a callback. Like that's the main reason why I like it.
Because like for sports cars, like you want just that's why like this like manual sports cars, the tach is right in the center.
Yeah.
The Speedos, right over here. It's like, you don't need to know anything until you're about to 60, and it's like, then but like certain cars require certain things, and seeing like, oh man. I don't remember the one car that actually has like when you switch into sport mode, like the tach. I mean, the speedometer shifts over. Some of them shift. I think it might have been a Ferrari or something like that, where it shifts over and it has like this big.
Sport mode goes into the like fighter jet mode.
Yeah,
that just looks ridiculous.
I mean, Lamborghinis are just
it's just way over.
Yeah,
lasers.
But speaking of sort of like those like LFA digital display thing, I think you can have an analog display still and a backup, sort of like, how the new cars, they actually, I think it was a McLaren that they actually switched the gauge altogether.
You can flip it down.
And
the
something like that.
Something
the
like
P1 720 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
One of
But
them.
instead of that, maybe like a shift light display on your steering wheel, which is more common, I guess, that does keep up with the engine. So you do have the analog that maybe has some latency that may not keep up with the engine, but you also do have the digital feedback from that. So I guess, again, it's just nostalgia for that analog feel, I guess. I wear a mechanical watch.
I think half of mine are mechanical.
It's like
or even wearing a watch in the first place.
Just look at your phone. Like,
it's more accurate
like
anyway.
a BRZ, for example. Yeah, you can keep a lot of that stuff analog, because, like, let's be honest here, like, those cars aren't slamming, like, you're not like flying through.
It feels like you are, but then you look at the speed and it's like
60.
40 miles.
We're getting 30 miles to the gallon.
Wow. But I mean, like, it's all about, like, I guess, like, because for what, if I was paying for a brand new like M4 and I saw like everything was just like buttons and dials, I'd be like, yo, where the hell's the screens? Like, where's all like this like cool stuff, like all the tech stuff that you kind of like you've come to expect with these cars? And because I mean, like, as we get older, we've seen like these cars like just get crazy modern. I can't even imagine like what my grandfather thinks of like when he was driving an MG, and like all of a sudden going from that to like, a Tesla, for example, like just like the polar opposite of like. Yeah. Of a real analog driving experience versus a completely like not desensitized, because I mean like almost desensitized, like kind of. And I think that's one of the issues that with the modernization of cars, everything's been comfort. Everything like it's all desensitized.
Safety and comfort.
Yeah, and I understand that's important.
And it's almost to the point where we don't even need to own the car, because with all the ride shares, taxi driving, and all that stuff, like.
There's a subscription-based service, if I remember correctly, for Cadillac.
Yes,
Cadillac has a subscription.
They're going to be making it soon.
Yeah,
they're piloting it right now.
So it's essentially like you lease a car, but then you get to and that's not like if you live in the city, that's a perfect thing to do. But even
like
New
car
York
to car to
City.
go, like car to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because my friend James, he didn't have a car for a while.
Germany.
He used car to go quite a lot.
Car to go is from Germany, actually. It's from Mercedes. So Stuttgart.
Well, that's right, because the smart cars and the Mercedes.
Yeah,
That's why I was like, why does car to go have a Mercedes?
I thought it was just because they wanted you'd
To
be
look-
like in luxury. You know,
I thought it was
not
like a Lux package. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, look at
exactly.
the high roller here
Yeah.
buying a Mercedes A-Class. Like, look at you. Like,
Yeah, we have like one on campus, right? At, like,
yes,
the-
there's
it's
there's
crazy.
3 car-to-go spots near the parking lot because I like asked UPD. I'm like, hey, put it like right up to the car-to-go, like with the cones, so that way like we can have like as much parking as possible. But, geez, I've always wanted to whip a smart car.
The Brabus one.
Yes. Or wait, Aston Martin. If I
Oh yeah,
the Signet, which
yes,
is
the
the
Signet, yeah.
Toyota IQ.
yeah, but doesn't it have the V8 in it?
It has the Aston. Yeah, I don't remember. which
That's
one, but
horrifying.
Yeah, it's
Where do
crazy.
they put that?
I watched a video. It's like mid-engine or something like that. I don't,
What, you sit in the middle though. Like,
I don't know. I just watched a video of someone sitting in the cockpit, and
But
like
no,
all
it
you
does-
could hear was the engine.
It doesn't have a V8, does it? I
Yeah,
thought
it's a V8. It's from like a
What?
yeah. It's crazy, dude.
Or it might have been
thought
like a
It's like
special.
450
Toyota-
horsepower. It's like
What?
I have no idea.
Oh,
dude.
okay, that's
It's a feat of
ridiculous.
modern
Dang.
engineering.
Aston Martin.
Signet,
Yeah.
which is like a baby goose or something like that. I don't know.
Cars nowadays just don't make a damn lick of sense when they're names. Like,
Yeah.
no, I think it's. Oh, it's a V. It's the Signet V8, but I don't think it's the stock version.
Right? Yeah, I think the stock one's just a Toyota. Just
Oh,
an
sorry. I thought you meant
overpriced
we were,
Toyota.
I thought we were talking about the one that has the V8, not all of them.
Oh, because the
yeah,
Signet
okay.
was built. It had to be built because of European regulations requiring cars to have like you must sell at least a
the
certain amount of.
carbon emissions.
Yeah,
must be a
and so
certain
they use
level
those cars to, like- they're like-
yeah, that's stupid.
And
The average Signet makes this.
yes, but like as you can see on our higher end, the higher end of the bell curve, it's like 2 miles per
yeah,
gallon.
exactly.
But I mean, like Aston Martins are absolutely gorgeous.
They're so gorgeous. You know, I saw one of the DB11s, and then
Oh, nice.
what's the other one called? The Vantage, the new Vantage. I saw one of those.
Okay.
It was really sexy. It was like white with like the red.
Yeah, I'm
Red
glad that the tachometer goes the right way now.
I want to change my favorite car answer. I mean, my daily driver. I want the Bugatti 110.
The new, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I
Okay.
want that one. That one looks sick. Who's got 9 mil?
Or the sweep tail. What's it called? Swept tail. The Rolls Royce swept tail. That's like $20 million.
Yes. God.
Dude, that is like, it's like what was it from Incredibles? You know how his car switched into the
Yeah.
Incredible, but that with like Batman's and like it has that transform ability.
Like,
that would
dude,
be
sweep. Like, I mean, that's like one of those things going back to like those Art Deco cars, like
Yeah.
that sweeping
Oh,
back.
the whole
like,
go ahead.
oh, what's the Walter? You'll know it. The Bugatti.
Atlantique.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is like one of
yeah.
one of my favorite cars. Or the tall
The Aeroleith. The one that you will die inside of heat exhaustion
Yes,
because you
'cause-
can't roll down the window.
yeah. There's no AC. It's just welcome to hell. Like, or the
Hey, if that's what hell's like, I don't mind going.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm like, I
No,
look good doing it.
Yeah,
like,
I'm gonna burn up anyways, so might as well get used to it.
It's man, the I can't remember it. It's the tall it's a French automaker. Talbot.
Oh, yeah. Talbot. I don't know how
Yeah.
it's pronounced. Talbot.
I have a friend whose last name's Talbot, but that's how they pronounce it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Talbot. I guess.
So then there's
If
some
it's
French,
French, is it like Talbot?
yeah.
some French.
No.
Yeah, those are pretty cool, actually. I like
Those are
them.
gorgeous
Yeah.
cars. I think that would be like something I would. That's what something I would love to like see like a modern version of, like something like that. And like Morgan's a prime example of that, where it's like they have like
The
Those-
Morgan three-wheeler.
yeah, but then like you also
I
have
thought
like
you were
their
talking
new,
about your
like the car like it's a classic car, but like classic car styled, but updated to
Like resto modding.
yeah, exactly. Like, and I mean,
and
I would. Yeah, I mean, dude, getting one of those Morgan three-wheelers would actually be so sick.
Burnouts for days, bro.
Yes. Wee.
But bringing up like obscure car brands, one car that I do really like is the Tatra T87, I think.
I have no
That
idea.
name sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it looks like a Beetle because apparently Ferdinand Porsche stole the design from Tatra. It's a Czech manufacturer,
Tetra.
Tatra, and it's like super cool. They have one that's like a
This
3-light version as well. Oh yeah, that's the
Oh
one.
god.
Yeah,
Let me see.
I don't know.
Oh, is it this one? You're talking about that
Yeah, yeah.
2-1?
Well, the 3-light version as well looks pretty cool, right? Do you not like it?
It's interesting.
I think it's
Classic
like,
cars like that, like the
Right.
the Metro
Oh, Snap's got
Cosmopolitan.
the split back window.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
it's not loading. Okay, that's
Oh.
cool, I guess.
but it's so good. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
pretty
yes.
sick. Yeah.
Wait, there's no. The reason why I saw that, the reason why it looks so familiar, because Petrolicious or
Yeah,
Carfection.
exactly.
Yes,
Petrolicious,
the dude
yeah.
that was restoring them, and it was like, what?
Uh-huh.
Like that was so crazy.
Yeah. And apparently that's the basis of the Volkswagen Beetle. So
Really.
Interesting.
And I had a friend tell me he wants to get a Volkswagen van, and like he was like, "Yeah, I want one of those classic VW."
Type 2s?
I think
Yeah,
so.
the one that
Dude.
like
Fucking 23 windows get way up there. in
Hundreds
prices.
of thousands of dollars.
yeah, talking about the one that like the Fluffy has like 23. Of
Yeah,
them.
he has a whole bunch of those.
Fluffy, what's his name? Yeah, that's
Gabriel
what he does.
Iglesias. I almost
Oh.
said.
Yeah, he
I
has
know
like
what I'm jamming
23
to.
or something.
It's like
22,
I
21, 20.
think that's all he collects. Like,
Yeah.
he just has a whole bunch of those.
Yeah, he has a. He's like that's like my favorite car, and I was like, okay.
I would
No,
just want to. I would always wanted to imagine like having just like one, or like because I know like AMG. There's a recent video like an AMG collector where he only has like specific models of AMGs, and he doesn't have the Hammer because I think those are only like one of 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but like
Der Hammer.
the Hammer,
Ferrari, the Ferrari,
the Ferrari.
or like
Actually, I was gonna ask one of y'all. The Enzo, is that just supposed to be called Enzo Ferrari? Like
No, Ferrari Enzo.
Ferrari
even though,
Enzo.
Yeah,
even
because
though
it's the
his name is Enzo Ferrari,
Yeah.
but the
On the-
car is Ferrari Enzo.
Because like Doug Demiro did the thing where it's like the plate just says Enzo Ferrari on like the plaque,
Oh.
and I don't know if like
maybe
they're
it's just because it's a commemoration to Enzo Ferrari.
yeah, I don't know because like I mean they're Ferrari's very weird and up their own butt
Yeah.
about how they name cars.
And now you won't be able to buy a Ferrari. Yeah.
Someone was like,
Uh-huh.
"Would you rather have a Ferrari?" I'm like, "Yeah, that looks cool, but like,
Do I want to
like
burn in a
anything.
fireball?
like turns on the." I'm like, I'd rather just get a McLaren or a Porsche. Like,
yeah, for sure.
yeah, I said it.
There's different clout, I guess. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like those. That's why I guess like the whole like less is more thing that like the whole subtle sports
Like
cars.
Audi R8.
Yes, Audi R8 is like one of those. Somebody was actually asking me like, would I rather have an Audi R8 or a GT 500? And I was like, R8. He was like, why? I'm like, because the R8 like one is gonna perform better.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the right question is R8 or Gallardo / Huracan because they're the same car,
They
right?
are, but they're just
They are.
So, like, which one? That's the more interesting
I think
question to me.
Lamborghinis are designed by a 12-year-old who just like he went too crazy with a protractor, and
Or the little things with the what do they call it, the map things?
The
that you go like
compass?
this?
compass, yeah. And it's just like, I mean, like, look, you know, they're beautiful cars, and like, I honestly like, you know, I can't afford them, so I really can't. I don't have any. This is a guy coming in with $200 in their savings, and that's as of today. And so, like, I mean, like, it's just something about like it just with Porsche or Audi, it's just like it doesn't need all that fancy stuff. Like, it doesn't like it's I don't know, or like the Volkswagen Phaeton.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, yeah.
My old roommate loves that car. He's been looking for one for a while, but they're just so expensive now. Like
Oh,
literally-
are they?
they're like back to almost like 60K, 50K.
Because they were going
That's
for
5
like,
years ago, they were going for 12K.
Yeah,
Now
dude.
they've been going
but God, buying a
insane.
Volkswagen Phaeton for $12,000.
Yeah, exactly. But like
The servicing cost, though.
you can find them. I think low end, like probably about 100,000 miles, like more, probably about 30K still.
Wow.
Insane money.
That's crazy.
It's
No
because
way.
there's so little of them. They only made it for like what 2-3.
They did not sell.
Yeah,
like because
and-
like, who's gonna buy a like who
Volkswagen
buys $100,000 Volkswagen?
Yeah.
Like, imagine trying to like sell that one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could buy
A Bentley, but Passat.
Passat, but it's that stealth wealth.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm surprised no one has made a jab at the $100,000 Volkswagen with the Porsche 911 yet, but
the 992 is $100,000 is like starting, correct?
yeah.
Why?
Why
Why-
pay $100,000 for a Beetle, right?
It seems like every year, like the car, like well, I mean, obviously every year it gets more expensive. Like, duh. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. But like, it's just like, damn. I'm like,
Inflation.
yeah, no, because I'm like, oh, like, yeah, like that's like when I was looking for like a first car, I was like, oh, maybe a Mustang. Like, and I was like, I could get I can get a Mustang 5.0 for like 30 grand, and it has everything that I'd want. Then I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna go look some up now. Oh, 40,000. I was like, oh, okay, like that's fine. Like that's out of my price range now. And they were like, this is the entry level Mustang, and I'm like, but granted, like, you know, the EcoBoost and the EcoBoost, like the 4-cylinder turbo.
Yes.
is about as fast as the GT from the early 2000s.
Really?
Yeah. And so like, it's like what the new ones are. The
Plus you
EcoBoost
get turbo noises.
Yeah. And same with the Camaro, what's it, like LT or whatever.
actually, because that like, the Camaro, yeah, the LT, because that one has a 4-cylinder turbo
One of them,
too.
yeah.
Because
Camaro
Camaro
looks like a Optimus Prime.
No, because like I mean, the Ford Mustang SVO was the first one to do it, the 4-cylinder turbo in an American muscle car, and oh god,
Buick Regal GNX.
well, that's the V6 turbo.
Yeah, it's
Oh
V6,
yeah,
yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
But I mean, like,
here, bro. Get out of here, you German.
I'm sorry, my American muscle.
Well, no, because you're technically right. The
because
Buick,
I was just like turbo.
the
American
GNX,
muscle.
yeah, the GNX was the first one, like a first American muscle car to correctly implement a turbo into their design. But like, oh god, I met this dude at a car meet at the Lupe Tortillas meet actually, who had an SVO, and he was like, if you factor in that this is the only that this car is red, it has a tan interior, it's got the two-tone, and these wheels. This is a 1 of 30 car. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, I hate that shit, dude.
Yeah.
It bothers me. I'm like, no, it's the same car. Muscle car people are the worst at that.
No. Everyone's that way.
Well-
like even the 911 people, they're like, oh man, this color was like 1 of 15
And you're like,
for the model year.
for the model year. Like, exactly. I'm like, stop. Like, there's so many asterisks behind those things.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm like, that does nothing to like benefit the driving experience.
Exactly.
I have a tan interior. Oh, I'm 2 seconds faster at Laguna Seca than you. Like no, that's
No,
not
you see, the dye was lighter in weight.
Get the fuck out of here. What are you, Chain
Weight
Bear
saving.
F1? Like,
Weight saving, bro. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Chain Bear F1 did a whole thing about how like Mercedes with their silver paint job, like they were doing so much resources was put to lowering the density, like the volume density of that paint, and like I was like, just paint it a different color.
Yeah.
The colors were actually for the countries.
I
of that time,
understand.
so.
Get with the time. Like, this is 2019. All arguments are now all arguments are now gone. If I state the current year.
It's not 2019, bro. It's 2020. We're almost there.
Oh yeah, we are.
But we're not there yet.
But like, 2019's over. Arguments are gone. As soon as 2019's over, arguments are gone.
All the arguments just resurface up. We're stronger now. So, I mean,
What? I thought you were gonna say something.
is that Walter?
Yeah, I thought Walter was gonna say.
Oh wait, what? About
No,
So,
I think
like,
that was me.
yeah.
Okay, well, so we went on a pretty big tangent there, but the last thing I wanted to talk about was like talking about the future, right? So we obviously have mentioned not being able to drive anymore, how much it costs, like ride share, all that kind of stuff, and then like different fuels, with electric, even hydrogen becoming an option. So what are y'all's opinions on, what the future looks like right now? We see Tesla getting such a huge market share. It's only been 8 years for them, pretty much, in like the mainstream market, and look at how big of an impact they've had, and like, what does that say for you about us as a car people?
Well, the first thing is I think that the electric car and autonomous car future is still a while away. It's not here yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we can see some of it coming up, but the battery technology, the manufacturing processes, they have such a large carbon footprint that a lot of people don't think of. Sometimes, and in fact, most of the time, it's worse than producing a gas car and using the gas car for the entire lifetime that it'll typically last. And then you still have to recycle the batteries at the end. That process as well has a huge impact on the environment.
Is there a process for that?
Yeah, there is.
Like
Okay.
Recycling lithium batteries,
Okay.
etc. And autonomous vehicles wise, obviously Tesla's autopilot system doesn't work because it's 100% visual based. It's just a camera system. So it's very, very hard to get low visibility sort of like autopilot stuff, which if you're into aviation, that's a big deal. Like, because aviation, you have clouds to look through everything. But what if you have bad weather? What if you have like glaring sunlight that blinds your camera? That is still an issue, and that's why most of the people are looking into LiDAR, laser radar, basically. But the problem with that is that we still can't distinguish one LiDAR signature from another. So if you have multiple autonomous vehicles now, and they're going to get confused and they're like, oh no, there's an obstruction here, but it's not really. And it creates problems. And so I don't think that future is as close as a lot of people think it is. It seems like it is, but it's really not that close. So I'm not particularly worried about it just yet. But I also think that there's always going to be a splinter group of people in the car community that will always love, the sound of a V8 or the sound of a flat six. Maybe some people V6s as well. There's always something for everyone. Oh, wait, I forgot you drive a V6. I'm sorry.
You sure that you forgot? Because it doesn't seem like you forgot. Race me, bud.
But that's always going to be some people that would be enthusiastic about that. And maybe that number will dwindle in the next 50 years or so. But I think that's a problem for them, really. I'm not too worried about it.
Sounds like a global warming argument. You sound like a boomer already.
Well,
it seems like the problem for the next sucker.
Yeah, it's the next generation's problem. It's fine. I'll be dead by then.
Yeah. My issue with Tesla is just oh god, dude, it's just
I don't like Elon Musk as well, by the way.
I used to really look up to Elon Musk, and in some senses I still do. I love just the drive and the desire to create things that haven't been done before and to really push the envelope. But it's that hubris that he has, with this whole Nürburgring stuff with these competing with it.
To be honest, his Twitter presence is almost like Trump.
It's detrimental to the company because he has made things where he's said stuff where it's actively lowered their shares.
It's insane.
And
how volatile it is.
To the casual consumer, Tesla is space age compared to all these stuff. And one of the things is a lot of my friends are they're not car people. They couldn't tell you anything about they just goes, I point and it drives. And that's nothing wrong. I mean, be what they're not into it. And that's just one of the things. But talking to them about it, it's just I don't want to say they're delusional, but they are. I'm no, dude, this isn't going to happen in 5 years. There's so many things. And it's interesting that you point out the camera system stuff because they're still having to work out stuff with just trying to find people of color in low light situations with that kind of stuff. And that's one of I never heard of that until somebody I think it was on Jalopnik made some arguments about that stuff, and there was a whole bunch of research done as to why tech companies haven't implemented that stuff to be more aware of people of color. And I don't know the reasons of it. Some people were saying, I'm not trying to make this about politics, and so I'm going to skillfully
but actually,
if anyone didn't see that, he just woed on us.
I just got to get out of here.
But actually, for visual based systems, you can still use IR because IR is
the heat,
right?
yeah.
So everyone gives off a heat signature, but again, blinding sun, the sun has a huge heat signature that's gonna just white out everything. And that's only something as a redundancy for low light situations mainly.
They're too eager to get that stuff out there. I'm it's that's the summoning feature for that stuff. I'm just it's only use this on your driveway. It's do you think anyone reads the fine print on this? No.
Just they say autopilot is not an autopilot. They just named it.
And then you see
and then people still use it.
People are humans are dumb. We are going to be creatures of convenience. We're not going to think. And that's one of the things where it's it has to be idiot proof. It has to be no matter what you do, this system is going to work. And it's not there. And I'm not impressed with Teslas. They look great on the outside. Sitting in it, I feel like I'm just in I like the designs of it. I think it's not a bad design. I think it's completely neutral. It's a completely acceptable.
Kind of looks like an egg.
Yeah, it's the Model X.
Yes, that looks like an egg.
That's the SUV, right?
Yeah.
I think that's disgusting. But they're small manufacturers. They can't
it
really
has going doors in the back.
Yeah, cool. That doesn't make that. Why? That was such a waste of money. Like, I'm like, that's like, it's just like things that like you're putting so much money in development for these other things where I'm like, okay, like I sit in this car, I'm like, this feels like I'm sitting in a Honda Accord. And it's just like, it's not. Oh yeah, well.
Well, have you seen the new BMW thing where you can like back up to like 50 feet? Like it knows the way you got into your garage, so it can actually go backwards and take you like
Oh,
wow.
That's really cool.
Like it's a useful feature because it's like, yeah, dude, if you're in a tight parking spot, it's like, if I remember correctly, it'll actually pull it for you.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I
don't know how all the stuff, and I can't afford it, so I don't really I don't look at it. I'm like, just know yourself. And so like, I mean, I look at it as I'm like, we're getting there. We're not going to see the full like fruition of this until 30, 40 years. And even then, like, we're going to be met with so many roadblocks that we haven't even thought of yet. Where to the point where it's like, what happens now when we have 30% cars running on, autonomous driving, but then the 70% are still going.
Yeah, because if they're want to switch lanes and you're trying to,
because it's not like, yeah, and it's like you have to count with like all these variables and everything like that. And this is for computer scientists that are way smarter than I am. And it's like, it's interesting. I love the thought. I love the concepts of it. And like, I want it. I mean, because eventually electric cars, whether we like it or not, they're going to have to be a thing. Because,
or don't have, which are on a finite resource.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I guess like basically the internal combustion engine will be phased out eventually. And so like, it sucks because I mean, like, there's nothing better than the sound of a V12 screaming at, 10,000 RPM. But I mean, like, I'm excited to see like where these, because I mean, like the Pininfarina, for example, the Batista, like it uses a Rimac concept, like the Rimac powertrain.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. But I mean, it's like 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds, stupid fast, and it's got like 300 miles of range, which I'm like, okay, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
And like, but I mean, I think that we're way too hype about it, and it's like we got to like let the technology actually like go through and let the infrastructure. People forget about the infrastructure all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to see. I want to see it. I really want to see like what car companies now, because I feel like what's going to happen is like one of the things that I'm excited for is like being able to get a powertrain, all the motors, the suspension, everything like that, and then just coach build a new body around it, or like for different applications. Because there's I think Rimac actually has a truck too, and they're
wait, are you talking about Rivera?
Rivera, sorry,
Okay.
Rivera has a truck, and like their concept of a truck is very cool. It's very different from what you would see because they're not constrained by like internal combustion. They have so much more storage, and it's a lot more modern solutions to these things that you would never think of. And so I was like very optimistic, but cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I feel that. I think. Oh shoot! I just lost my train of thought. But when I remember that, I wanted to talk about like with like the electricity and like hydrogen. I think it was cool how like Honda actually. I don't know if they still do it in like Europe or something, but they had that one car that was hydrogen powered. But like we always forget. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Like with the infrastructure, like wireless charging, cool idea. But if I have to put my phone down, it defeats the purpose of charging it because like everyone on a wired charger plays on their phone anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to look at my phone on the ground like this and like have to.
How am I supposed to play Tetris?
Exactly. Well, Tetris would be the easiest one to do if it was like this, but I just mean.
I get very into Tetris. I'm like swiping all across the board.
Well, I mean, like you see what I mean. Right?
Yeah.
Because wireless charging is cool, but if it's not wireless, when it's like still has contact, it's kind of pointless. So like that infrastructure would be cool to like implement into real life, where if we can actually find a good process to like create the hydrogen properly and safely transport it and actually get it out, it's so much cleaner, it could be cheaper because hydrogen is so abundant. But it's just like,
if I remember correctly, GM had a hydrogen-powered Suburban.
I didn't know that. I just knew about the Honda one.
BMW had a Hydrogen 7 Series with
Really?
an E66 model, yeah. And Jay Leno actually took a glass to the tailpipe
it's
and
water.
collected
It's
the
just
water.
water.
Yeah, and he drank.
It's so pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah, if your fuel is hydrogen-based, then combustion means hydrogen plus oxygen. That naturally gets you water.
Chemistry.
The interesting thing about that Hydrogen 7, though, that was really cool, was that it was one of those engines that can run on two fuels. I know nowadays we call it flex fuel, because of the ethanol stuff. But back then there was like a technical term for it. But that basically runs on gasoline and hydrogen. So the hydrogen tank, if you just park it and you don't use it, it lasts a week because hydrogen molecules are so small that it just leaks out, right? I mean, that's the issue with the Hindenburg and with a lot of stuff. So if you park it there for a week without driving it, you're out of out of hydrogen fuel. And so you can't drive it. So they actually do have a gas tank as well, and it runs on both, which is kind of cool. I think that would have been an interesting way forward for hybrid technology. But I think just harvesting like pure hydrogen gas and stuff, and like having it safely stored so that you can fill up your car with hydrogen gas. I think that's all very, very hard to do. And so that was probably why that sort of reached a dead end. But
because that's what I always heard. It was like, everyone's like electric, but then it's like, what about hydrogen? And it's like, yeah.
But that's the thing. Hydrogen itself isn't naturally that dangerous. It was just a lot of factors that led to the Hindenburg's demise. But hydrogen fuel cells itself, actually, those don't use hydrogen gas, right? This was an engine that was running on hydrogen gas to combust. But hydrogen fuel cells themselves, I think they are typically just like water-based, and you get your hydrogens in the form of ions, so it's in a solution. So it's an acidic solution, basically, if you know chemistry. You get hydrogen ions from acidic solutions, and that's how you create that battery with your hydrogen fuel cell. So that's a lot safer to implement, but it also requires a lot more technology. And I know, like maybe 5 years ago, there was this concept at Geneva that was claiming that they could make like 2,000 horsepower or something with like a hydrogen fuel cell, and it was just powered on seawater or something.
No, it was 2,000. It was like 2,000 horsepower and like some like 5,000 foot-pounds of torque.
Some ridiculous,
like absurd numbers. And I was like, too good to be true. Like if you know the expression, like
vaporware. And in this case, literally, it could vaporize, right?
Yeah,
the water.
That's like me. First thing in the morning when I drink water, 2,000 horsepower.
2,000. I am
my organs.
One of my favorite, because I've talked with my grandfather quite a lot, because we've gotten into like, I wouldn't say arguments, heated debates about the like how long Tesla's gonna last. And he goes, we were sitting there one day, and he goes, you know what? Why don't they use nuclear power? And it was like, I didn't have an answer, but then I'm like, a fender bender away from. I just a huge explosion.
Did you ever play Fallout?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, that would be really cool, but then, like, I don't know if we can train our mechanics to be, like
nuclear physics.
Yeah, nuclear. Yeah, like, I mean,
To add on to that thought of nuclear, actually, is that if you do like study some nuclear physics, you will realize that there are actually two forms of nuclear reactions.
Fission and fusion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, the most of the ones that we use here are fission, because that's a lot easier. Fusion is what happens in the sun, right? But also there are two ways to develop your nuclear fission reactor. And one way is such that it spirals unstably into going to more chain reactions, and that's what happened with Chernobyl and caused the reactor to explode.
And that's the meltdown, correct?
Yeah, exactly. But the current way after Chernobyl's incident, nuclear reactors are built so that they spiral into stability, so they go less and less chain reactions, and eventually the reactions will stop.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily gonna be horrible to have it nuclear powered. It's just that I think there's so much stigma around nuclear power now that it's very, very hard for it to gain momentum anymore. I know NASA was actually experimenting with a nuclear-powered plane at one point of time.
Oh,
But-
that is that the ion propulsion?
No,
Oh, shit,
it was
that'd be cool.
ion propulsion is for space. In this,
Okay, yes, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgive me for my ignorance there, because there was a first confirmed flight from MIT. Now this is like the plane's like this big of ion propulsion, and I was like, the future is now.
That was the recent one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this was like back in the, I think I want to say like 60s or 80s or something, when there was some threat of war, probably the Cold War or something like that.
Classic.
Yeah, and
Classic
they
Russians.
they didn't actually put the propulsion system on the plane yet. It was still running on regular engines, not even jet engines, just piston engines. But they did put a nuclear reactor on board for their study just to see the feasibility of it. And
Like what would
all
happen
the,
at altitude?
yeah, and
loss of
whether the
pressure.
radioactivity would affect the crew members, etc.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
just here's a reactor just sitting here with it.
Yeah.
Uh,
But then
High five, it works.
right, third arm.
Whoa!
It's like the Simpsons movie with the sludge and everything like that. You know,
yeah.
Future on with the mutants. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, don't worry. But I mean, that's the thing. They eventually it reached a dead end as well, because I think there was so much stigma behind nuclear. But
Well, I think they just need to experiment and say like, hey, we're gonna run these two things into each other and see what happens, but like 20 miles away.
Right.
NHTSA nuclear car test.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
Yeah.
honestly, you have to try it. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, how else are you gonna know if it's gonna blow up or not?
Yeah.
Even if
First
it is.
guy crash testing a nuclear car. You're like, oh, bro, why did I have to do this today? Like, oh man. Hopefully you guys up the life insurance policy. here.
So is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, I'm running a little low on time. I got class.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think
No,
we're
I'm
good.
fine with that. I just had
Yeah.
till 2. So if that's it, thanks for joining in today. I appreciate y'all sharing your opinions on our favorite subject. I know Walter has a quick little plug, so if you want to put that in real quick right
Oh,
here.
right. I almost forgot.
For
Yes.
anyone who's in Austin or want to drive to Austin.
Well, actually, it's not quite in Austin. It's a little bit away from Austin. It's in Temple, Texas. So this Saturday, in fact, every first Saturday of the month, there'll be an event at a shop called Works 11, WERKS 11. It's in Temple, Texas. The address is 302 West Adams Avenue, and it's called Porsches and Coffee. And just swing by if you want to take a look at some Porsches, drink some coffee, hear some stories, and talk to people. I mean, it's like a cars and coffee event. It is not exclusive to Porsches, contrary to the title.
They let my truck in there.
Yeah, it's not like a very like strict event. It's casual. It's a nice family-run shop, and the people there are incredible people. And yeah, it's just a fun time. You don't really have to do much. You can take a look at the cars and go on your merry way, or you can stick around and talk to people. Yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think that's a lot cool. That's really cool because like the one back in Dallas where I'm from, they stopped it, and it was at the BMW dealership. So it was always fun seeing all the BMWs and whatever cars. And there's some high rollers up in Dallas.
Cars.
I love going to that shop though. It's just so fun to see flat 6 motors just lying on the ground. And you're just like, oh, okay, like that's cool. Like, and, like just, I don't know, it's just such a cool shop. And like everyone there's like super, like everyone just wants to talk. I mean, obviously everyone has the same interests. And so like last time I was there, like, I mean, I was there by myself. And by the end of it, I was talking to everybody in the groups. And that was just like, people would just walk up to you like, hey.
That was when Ted Gushu was around, right? From Petrolicious.
Yes. And I didn't even know it.
That's
Like,
awesome.
Yeah, I didn't even know it. I was like, wow, that's a nice car. And then like I walked off and like Walter was like, do you know who that was? Like, I was like, no, I don't. Ignorance is bliss.
So Jacob, you want to plug your little club real quick?
I mean, like the horsepower on the hilltop, like, man, like we want to do a meet this year. It's just very hard to jump through some of that stuff with school. And that's not me trying to insult the school. I know that they have a lot of safety stuff with that. And it's just very hard because you're dealing with a lot of like random, like a lot of people and there's just people will be idiots. But we want to have a couple meets. All of our meets are for charity. You guys can check out our Facebook page. It's called Horsepower on the Hilltop or Hilltop Car Club. There's 2 different pages. The Hilltop Car Club is the Facebook discussion page. Horsepower on the Hilltop is the event page. And all of our stuff's on social media. Like it's, again, all charity-led, all student-driven. And so just next time we get one out, it's always on Facebook and then we share it to various other automotive clubs across, mainly in Austin and the surrounding cities. But generally a good time. We always have like food, drinks. There's always that guy with the monster truck. I mean the Monster Energy truck. Monster truck's a little different. Sorry, but and so if you want to have a monster at 9 a.m. in the morning, but very fun club, and it's Walter and I's. We're trying to get something going, but with all the classes, it's so difficult.
Yeah, we're math majors.
Yeah.
We're dying.
Help.
All right. Well, that concludes today's episode. Thank y'all again for joining us. I hope you had a good time with this. It's pretty fun. A little more interesting than most of my podcasts. A little bit more heated discussion than normal,
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you so much for having us on here, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. So thank you all for tuning in. Catch y'all next time and have a great day.